Welcome to Pensar Basketball Live. The Boston Celtics are going to the NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown is the recipient of the Larry Bird Trophy, awarded to the best player in the Eastern Conference Finals. And once again, this game was very predictable. It was very familiar. And if you're an Indiana Pacers fan, I'm not sure how I feel. If I'm you, you were there, you had it. Technically, the entire narrative coming into this game was the Pacers should be up 2-1. They should be up 2-1. Well, right now you're going to Cancun and you should be up 3-1. And there's a lot to talk about. I'm trying something new today, which is really interesting. And it is part of a new contract that I just signed. So, what I'm going to do today, and we're going to see if how this works out. And if this works out really well, then we're going to keep this format pretty much going forward forever. I took notes throughout the entire game. So I am very, very well rehearsed. I was just telling my girlfriend, I think I am the world's biggest expert on this game, this specific game. I used, I used all the commercial breaks to rewind, make notes and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people who do post game analysis, they do it this way. I do it very off the cuff. This time, no off the cuff. So we're gonna do our usual thing. We're gonna go to the post games. We're gonna hear from Pascal Siakam. We'll listen to Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown when that becomes available, and we'll break down this game and we'll talk about the more holistic, bigger picture stuff as well in terms of where does Indiana go from here? Were they frauds? Not to harp on that or be rude about it, but should this be something that they invest in? Is this something that shows them, damn, we're really close? Like did the in-season tournament maybe give them a little bit of gusto, and did this perhaps put that gusto over the edge, or did losing 4-zip to the Boston Celtics and seeing how Pascal Siakam performed, seeing how their young guys performed, did that maybe change their thinking about their future? So we'll talk about that, and we will talk about the inevitable Boston versus Dallas. We'll talk about Boston versus Dallas. We can certainly talk about Boston versus Minnesota too, if you want. But we're going to talk about Boston versus Dallas until things change. And we're going to talk about why maybe I'm rushing a little bit by picking why I'm rushing by picking Dallas to beat Boston. Because truth be told, Boston is in very historical territory. How historical is their territory? Well, I'll give you some nice little trivia here. The Boston Celtics become the only team, or one of 9 teams since 1980. That's nearly like, we're talking 44 years here. 1980. Do the math. 1980, 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020. There have been a lot of great teams there. There's been the Heatles. There's been the Dynasty Bulls. There's been a Celtics dynasty. That's post Bird, Magic, Jordan, Steph, all of it. LeBron, all of it. There had been 9 teams total. And going into tonight, there were 8 teams total. Now there are 9 teams total that have lost 20 or fewer games before the NBA Finals. There were 8 teams in NBA history who had done this since 1980. The Boston Celtics just became the 9th. Those 8 teams are as follows: the 2016 Warriors, the 2017 Warriors, the 1987 Lakers, the 2011 Heat, the 92 Bulls, the 96 Bulls, the 97 Bulls, and the 1986 Boston Celtics with Bill Walton. Rest in peace. So I spent a little bit of today just thinking about Bill Walton. I wrote a script. I'll hopefully get a video out about Bill Walton tomorrow, which means I'll be editing most of tonight. So I do want to get through this video, hopefully within the hour, and then start working on that video. But I'm a big fan of Bill Walton, and really sad news this morning. And of course, the Celtics winning on, the day Bill Walton passes away. Did he pass away today, or did they announce it today? I'm not really sure, but nevertheless, certainly that's on the minds and hearts of any NBA fan, and especially any NBA fan who was a fan of the NBA during the 70s and 80s. Actually, you know what? Bill Walton transcends that, man. His color commentary career, I'm sure everyone, even my age and younger, had known Bill Walton for one reason or another. Either you knew him as that guy that your dad swore was the best player in the league, before injuries, or you knew him as that incredible, voice that was so unique, or you knew him as that hippie guy, or you knew him as Luke's dad. However, you knew Bill Walton, he was great. He was truly great. And I think that video is going to give you a lot of insight into who Bill was as a kid, who he was in high school, and how he became the man that he became, because it is a really like an interesting story, mired with controversy and triumphs and failures and setbacks. It's really a Hollywood story, and I'm really looking forward to telling it. All right, let's get to this. So, my overall takeaways were this: Indiana scored 4 points in the final 6 minutes, and Boston scored 15. Okay, that's the game. This is the third time in 4 games, and this series only lasted 4 games, where Indiana was massively favored to win the game per ESPN's win probability. And I could show you that. I can show you that right here. I'm not lying to you. They were favored to win this game every single time. And here we go. Look at the Gamecast. When you go to Gamecast, they give you the win probability based on historical data, based on their algorithm. And the win probability said, once again, the Indiana Pacers, with 5 minutes and 36 seconds to go, had, let me see this here. With 5 minutes and 36 seconds to go, the Indiana Pacers were 86.6% likely to win this game. And they lost it. They lost it again. And if I flash back to the previous game and I flash back to game 1, it was a very similar story. So time and time again, either you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it as Indiana collapsed, Indiana choked, and there's plenty of that. There's almost an identical turnover, and we'll talk about, how the fourth quarter broke down and, how the game sort of flowed and the ebbs and flows and Derek White's heroic performance. But ultimately, time and time again, Indiana came up short and Boston came up huge. And because this is a zero-sum sort of situation where only one team can win and you only play who's in front of you, I think it's fair to say that Boston really is this good. I think if you're one of those people that is just like, hey, this team has another layer, this other gear, and they just step it up, and they don't always go there, and they don't try to go and blow teams out by 50. They did plenty of that during the year. But hey, like, this team has a consistent manner of winning where in the last 7-8 minutes, they turn up the heat and nobody else can keep up with them. Critics of Boston might say, you're not going to go up against, a Jimmy Butler-less Heat, or a Donovan Mitchell-less Cavalier team, or a Tyrese Haliburton-less Indiana Pacers team. One could also say a lot of the mistakes that Indiana made were complete self-implosions. Pascal Siakam just throwing the ball to Al Horford. Tyrese Haliburton dribbling the ball off his foot in game 1. That's not defense. That's just bad offense. Is Boston so good that they force Indiana and, Cleveland and Miami into really bad offense? I don't know. Is Boston waiting to turn it up? Is Boston going to be a completely different team with Kristaps Porzingis back? Is Kristaps Porzingis even going to come back? There's so many questions that I have about the Boston Celtics. And it's interesting when I think about the other teams that they're in that company with, because it is a very interesting stat, right? I mean, it shows dominance. They've lost 2 games up until this point, 2 games in the entire playoffs. But you have to understand, they lost one of those games to the Miami Heat. And I think that's all anyone can think about. And I think that if you're a critic of theirs, I think you have a really good point. I think you have a really good point that Jayson Tatum takes too many jump shots, that he settles too much, that this team plays around with their food. I think that's all fair. And I think all of that can be fair while you still acknowledge that they have lost fewer than 20 games since training camp. That's also really crazy when you really think about this dominant run. Start looking at the teams they lost to, and you might feel a little bit differently about it. Should they be favored going into Dallas? We'll talk about that. We'll definitely talk about that. But they will have home court advantage because they worked very hard for that. And this is a team that I don't know. We're definitely going to talk about that. But let's start at the beginning in terms of how this all broke down. And before we do any of that, we're going to go to Pascal Siakam at the podium. A lot of Raptor fans do check out this channel, so I'm sure they'll like to know what Pascal had to say. And then after that, we'll go right into the game breakdown. All right. Audio on this?
I mean, obviously, I came in.
Whoops. Let me try to remove this for a sec. Pull this back up. We're not getting audio on this. Are you guys getting audio on this?
On the team, and just to see the growth and just how as the year. I mean, obviously, I came in the middle of the year, but as the year was going on, just getting better as a team.
Are you guys hearing this?
Every single day? And during this postseason, just continue to fight and scratch every single day, and yeah, just kind of unfortunate to obviously that it ended this way, but.
You guys hear the audio, but I'm not hearing the audio.
Yeah, proud of the fight and how we just continuously got better and also just kept fighting, even though we had the downs, but just continue to fight through everything.
Pascal, just over 4 months now. What have you made of your time here with the Pacers so far?
I think, for me, obviously it's been a crazy year, I came from a place where, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my career, there, and ended up leaving there, and it's been hard. Obviously, I'm a pretty positive person, and I have a lot of support, obviously, from my family, but. Yeah, it's been tough just going through everything and I'm leaving in the middle of the season and just going through it a lot, mentally and physically and just from everything. And then landing here, the support from the first day has been incredible. Like I couldn't really ask for anything better, just in terms of support from the first day I got here. I could name literally everyone, from KP, Chad, the coaches, Rick, LP, the players, Ty, Drew, Miles, the whole staff. I mean, just so much love and support. And I think just coming from where I came from, and I've sacrificed so much, in a place, and I think that, after you have that kind of breakup and it's hard, it's tough, and then you come into here, and I think without that support, like I don't know how I would have been able to do it, and I'm so grateful and happy that, I came in a place where you just feel so supported and you feel like you're needed, you feel like you matter, and as a player, that's really all you can ask for, and I'm blessed to to be able to be here and have the season that we had and come into a group of guys that really it mattered for them to be able to compete, and I'm just happy to be a part of it, and for me as a player, like that's all I really ask for. Like I give everything to the places where I am, and for me to be here and to come here and just to see how like the support has been so incredible. It's just it warms my heart, and I'm blessed.
Just Pascal, 3 of these 4 games, you guys led late, had a chance to close it out. Just how do you come away from a series like that, and just what kind of learning experience can this be for a young team?
Yeah, it's hard because I think when you look at all those games, we're right there. And feels like it just kind of goes away from us, at certain points of the game, and it sucks. It's tough, and it's easy to just be like, oh yeah, like we're gonna learn from it, but it's things like it's hard just because I know how hard we worked and how close we were in all these games. And I know how hard it is to come back to this position, so, I could tell you, like, yeah, we're going to learn from it, and it's going to, it's going to happen, but, like, it's not guaranteed, and I know how hard it is to get to this point, so it's unfortunate, and obviously you want to give credit to the other team because, they took advantage of every mistake that we made, and, they did well, but also for us, just, it's been hard, like heartbreaking losses after heartbreaking losses, and yeah, you're going to be encouraged by it, and you hope to put the right amount of work to continue to get better, because we need to be a lot better, if you want to compete, with those teams, and understand that, it doesn't matter how good we played, we didn't get it done.
Back here, Pascal, I've got two for you. The first, you sort of mentioned right there about Indianapolis and just being here and what that transition was like. A lot of moving parts this offseason, but is this a place that you would be okay and want to potentially come back to next year?
I think, obviously, I'm not going to talk about, all that, but all I can say is that, it's been a blessing. And I'm really appreciative of everything, I think coming from where I come from, it means a lot. And the support that I've received here, is something that, I was kind of missing, and having, all that, and seeing how a city just breathes basketball, and just how much support they give to the team. Just being here, the home games, it's incredible. How would you not be a part of that? So I think for me, I'm just really blessed and happy for, how this has been. And I think that, in terms of future, whatever happens is going to happen.
And then second one, having experienced the top of the league, winning it, how close is this team?
I think, I want to be very careful, just because, like I said, I think it's easy, after a season like that, to be like, oh man, we go so close and we're gonna get back to it, but it's not guaranteed, and I've known that, firsthand. I feel encouraged, but I think it's a lot of work. We gotta get better, as a team, as an organization, and if you want to get to that level, it takes a lot, and obviously you feel encouraged, but there's a long way to go.
Pascal, right here. Miles has been here the longest of anybody. How did he help you kind of transition to Indiana, and how did he make you feel, just playing-wise on the court and off the court as well, maybe with just how to live in Indiana?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. All the guys been awesome, and Miles is one of them. Just talking to him, he's they've been so welcoming, and I think when you have a player like me coming into a team, it can be sometimes intimidating, for a lot of people, but just those guys been so awesome, their character as people, the way they welcomed me with open arms, and from the first day, got texts from everyone. Miles was one of them, and just showing the support and wanting to make it work, and those guys want to win, and I think that for me, what I've tried to bring is just that winning kind of culture, and continue to build on that, and understanding that we are young, but we got to continue to be professional and continue to work at a certain level, to be able to achieve the things that we want to achieve, and I want to be the catalyst of that, just because of my experience and everything, and Miles, that's been here for a while, he's been so great and welcoming for me, and I appreciate that.
Pascal, you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but what do you think is most are the important things you think this team has learned about itself over this playoff run? And when you say this team has to get better, how? What's the most important ways this team has to get better?
I think which we all know that getting better, experience is part of that, and that's why these moments is oh man, the experience, and we get on that belt, and we're young and we're gonna get better. That's part of it, but also just in terms of just everything, defensively, offensively, understanding how great our pace is, and finding ways how to, be controlled within what we do, playing for, 48 minutes, being, stronger, rebounding, it's just, I can sit a lot of things, but I think that overall we just got to continue to get better, to be able to get to that level, and it's just details, and if you look at most of those games, it comes down to details, and like I said, when you play against good teams, you those mistakes, they cash in on those, and I think that's something that we can learn from as a team.
damn. I don't know if you're an Indiana fan. I'm not sure how reassuring that was in terms of his future in Indiana, but tough, like really tough. Details, no turnovers, box out. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about with Pascal Siakam. I'm having a few technical difficulties here. Just give me 1 second. I'll figure this out here. Okay. So did I just remove myself from the screen? Yeah. Yeah, I totally did. Okay. So let's go through it. Let's go through this, man, because honestly, this game started out one way and it ended up another way, and we got to talk about it. So in quarter one, so I broke down my notes by quarter. Okay, the Celtics started out strong, taking a lot of threes. Indiana was just living in the mid range, right? And you're like, okay, trading threes for twos. If Boston has a hot shooting night from three, this is going to be a blowout. Boston has this tendency to just go for the knockout punch. They want to take a lot of threes, and on the nights that those threes are going to go in, they're going to beat you by 30. And on the nights that those threes don't go in, they're going to have to find a way to win that game anyway. And that's just how they roll. That's what they're willing to go with. When TJ McConnell came in, it was instant. Like his energy was instantaneous, and it was infectious. Frankly, he brought a very unique, effervescent sort of defensive charge with him and got downhill a lot. Isaiah Jackson at the 423 mark or 426 mark, Isaiah Jackson forces Al Horford into a shot clock violation, and he follows that up with a block. Following up a block, he forces an Al Horford shot clock violation, and then at the 302 mark, Doug McDermott he takes a three over Sam Hauser, and that forces the Celtics timeout at 23-20. So the Celtics were playing with fire, really, on it with a team in a closeout game. I think the Pacers played a much better first quarter than the Celtics, but ultimately, despite the fact that the Pacers were winning the offensive glass, they were far more desperate. They had the better energy. They were cutting harder. They were driving harder. They were playing harder. And it's just like the Celtics were just right there. And that was very nerve-wracking because the Celtics were not hitting shots. Sorry, I apologize. The Celtics were hitting shots, but the Pacers were playing harder. So basically, the Celtics came out sort of on fire. McConnell slingshotting off of McDermott, pass on an inbound to beat the buzzer on a floater, and this would be the second one of two times that the Celtics would end the first half to end the quarter on a buzzer beater. Andrew Nembhard, of course, ended the second quarter on a buzzer beater. There's a lot of talk about ending quarter strong, starting quarter strong. I think the Indiana Pacers started and ended quarters strong in this game. So at the end of the first quarter, the Pacers felt like the significantly more dialed in, energetic, and desperate team, which they've been the entire series, except for maybe one quarter sum total. In the second quarter, before the second quarter, Drew Holiday was asked, how he's battled through his illness. A lot has been made of him being a game time decision both games, battling, I think, a flu. And he kept his answer short and sweet. He said, Game 4 leads to conference finals, literally in those words. JJ Redick referenced a stat on the broadcast that Pascal Siakam was 16 for 24 on mid-range jumpers, and he became 17 for 25 after hitting one to start the second quarter. The Pacers took a 33-32 lead on a broken play. Siakam found Nembhard. Then once again, Nembhard hits a second straight three. So it was like back-to-back games where he's entered double digits in the first half. And I wrote in my notes, this kid is for real offensively, and it's really a bonus because he gives you so much defensively as well. At 9:01, Nembhard capped his eighth straight point on a push-off kind of floater on Derek White. So he capped like an 8-0 personal run by himself, Then Siakam and one brought it to 40-37, missed a free throw. Building was getting ready to like erupt at this point, right? You could feel the momentum starting to shift for Indiana. And if you see the chart that I'm here, right? That's kind of where I'm referencing right here, right? Like this is around that time when the building was just getting ready to erupt, and you could feel the momentum swinging away from the Celtics. And the Celtics had been sort of dwindling, and it was, honestly, a run that kept Boston in it. Some hot shooting, Derek White missing a three-pointer. So Let's continue on here. Siakam misses. Okay, so 7-7-11 mark, scoreless to the point. Miles Turner finally scores his first baskets, 2 free throws. We go 44-42 on the Celtics. And on the other end, Siakam can't score on a Hauser mismatch. And then 3:07, Tatum takes on a Horford screen, forces a switch on Turner as Nesmith trails, does an inside-out dribble to fake Turner out of his shoes before getting open drive and then dunk. Siakam does not cut off the drive. Shepard doesn't recover. This was constant issue with the Indiana Pacers, where once Jaylen Brown, or in the rare cases, Derek White or Jayson Tatum beat their guy off the dribble, I didn't really love the help rotation. Oftentimes, they were bringing Miles Turner up to the level of the screen, and they were forcing him into a switch, which of course meant that behind him there was no rim protection. I think that this was something that the Celtics sort of schemed out, and time again, including towards the end of the game, this cost them. What kept the Celtics, what kept the Indiana Pacers in this was just relentless attacking from TJ McConnell, this defensive energy from Aaron Nesmith and Andrew Nembhard, shot making from Andrew Nembhard, and occasionally also shot making from other guys like Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner. But in my opinion, over the last 2 games, Andrew Nembhard was their best player, followed by TJ McConnell. Not really what you want if you're, I mean, if you think about it, your best player is a point guard. Your second best player in his absence was your best player in his absence was a point guard. Is it just Rick Carlisle's offense is always going to favor the player who has the ball in their hands, i.e., that's why Luka was so great in Dallas, but Luka's still great right now? Or do you know what I mean? Like, there's always that element of, is it just the system that they are running is always going to favor the ball handler? Or is there real concern that in the absence of your marquee franchise supermax now point guard, that your soon to be maxed out all-star, all-NBA guy did not have much more of a role on the offensive end? Is it more concerning to me that the Celtics sort of lived with one-on-one Pascal Siakam matchups where they put Jaylen Brown on him and really sent a soft double occasionally? They lived with Al Horford on him way too often. He's 37 years old, turning 38 this summer. And the fact that the Celtics are willing to live with that, it really shows you how little respect they have for a guy like Pascal Siakam, in my opinion. Okay. Okay, so I wrote here, if the Celtics are even close, which they likely will be at halftime, they're delivering the knockout blow in the second half. It's just a feeling. And they did. Halftime notes. Andrew Nembhard had 12 points in the second quarter, beats the buzzer at the end of the half. They say how you start and end quarters makes the game. Pacers have ended both quarters strong on 2 buzzer beaters. All right. Quarter 3 starts with a barrage of 3-pointers from the Pacers and caps off with a long 2. The Celtics seem to be sleepwalking, and frankly, they paid for it, and they found themselves down 7. Back-to-back defensive plays by Derek White to energize the Celtics, and this is really the quarter of Derek White for me. Quarter 3 was just where he was all over the place. He ends the game with 8 stocks. He had a ton of deflections, charges, like communications, rotations. He bailed the Celtics out in the most major way tonight. He is my player of the series. He's my player of the year. Like, I love Derek White. I think it's scary to think that he's their 4th best player when they're healthy. Like, that's a scary thought, because I think he might be the 4th best player of all time of any team. I can't think of a team that had a player where their 4th best player was better than Derek White. His catch and shoot threes are relentless. He didn't have a hot shooting night tonight, but he did hit the 3 that iced the game eventually. Anyways, moving on. Evan Turner, there was a moment, right? Miles Turner, I said Evan Turner. Miles Turner has an offensive foul against Derek White. Again, White kind of baits him into the charge. Brown, Jaylen Brown kind of shoves Miles Turner a little bit. Miles Turner doesn't like that, shoves him with both arms. Lucky he didn't get, something more than a double, than just a tech, right? Because, I mean, I don't know if Jaylen Brown sold that, but he went flying a lot further than than Miles Turner did. I mean, like Jaylen Brown just kind of brushed him aside. Miles Turner just fully turned around and shoved him. I don't understand how those 2 things are equal. In my opinion, those are not equal. One of those is a get off my guy. The other thing is a retaliation to what they perceive. Like, that's not an appropriate Just my opinion. I like Miles Turner, but that's not an appropriate call. In my opinion, the referees butchered that. If nothing, it should have been just a technical on Miles Turner, or it should have been I mean, I would hate to see someone ejected over something so stupidly soft, but you cannot tell me that that's a double tech and a wash. You have to give the advantage to the Celtics on that one. Um, anyways, at that point, the next play down, Miles Turner gets called for another offensive foul on a moving screen, slams the ball into the ground, and the commentators are wondering, is Miles Turner about to get ejected? Luckily, he does not get ejected, and he continues to play. 650, Carlisle upset by no call on a climbing Al Horford, climbing on Obi Toppin's back. Instead, Al Horford goes to the line and ties the game at 69-69. In fairness, I don't think Al Horford really climbed his back. Obi Toppin is just out of position. 6:14 mark of the third quarter, Derek White with another huge defensive play, stopping Nesmith. And 30 seconds later, on a fast break, he blocks TJ McConnell. Like every time the Indiana Pacers wanted to gain separation, there was Derek White saying, nope, regardless of how hard Derek White was playing. And he, really, like, if you want to take an entire list of the hardest working players in tonight's game, it's Derek White, and it's like 6 or 7 Indiana Pacers, and then it's like whoever the hell the next Celtic was. I mean, Derek White, Drew Holiday to a lesser extent, but like Derek White really was the motor for the Boston Celtics. If anything, if I was his teammate, I would just be thinking, I want to win this game for him. Obi Toppin 3 pushes it to 76-71, but all the Celtics next few possessions, and back to 75-76. If the Celtics expected Indiana to just go away, they hadn't. And a hard fight for an underman team with nothing to play for other than pride. 113 mark the third quarter. Boston now 2 for the last 17 following their 3-point hot start. So they have these stretches, and honestly, you can literally see that stretch on that graph right there. That cold shooting of 2 for 17 from 3, that's pretty much the entire blue stretch right there, because Boston couldn't buy a bucket. They go 2 for 17 from 3, and they managed to lose the 3-point shooting battle in this game. And that's their shtick. That's their whole thing. That's what they do well, right? They lost their bread and butter and still managed to win this game. Figure it out. Okay, fourth quarter. It is wild basketball time. Let's just flash forward to the 5:15 mark. Okay, so this is right around when the tide started to turn. Let's get to 5:15 here. So this is Pascal Siakam misses 16-foot jumper. So this is right when Indiana is still 84% favored to win this game. Okay, so Siakam misses, his jumper hangs short on the rim, as 4:54, Tatum hits a step back 3. So now it's 95-98, and then we get a Siakam turnover. Jayson Tatum offensive rebound on the shove off on Nesmith. He gets his 5th foul. Nembhard, Jayson Tatum offensive foul on a shove off. So Nesmith, I don't know. I think Nesmith kind of dove a little bit, but Tatum did push off. He picks up a 5th foul. He's not happy. And then Nembhard gets a huge shot. So at this point, you're thinking Celtics are cooked, right? And we're like less than 4 minutes to go in this game. Holiday does his thing to Obi Toppin, the exact same thing that he did to Pascal Siakam. Like, this was deja vu. Okay, same bully ball, same finish, same and one. Everyone was talking about, oh my God, he did it to Pascal Siakam last game. Oh my God, Pascal Siakam such a scrub. Well, he did it to Obi Toppin. Guess what? Neither one of these guys can guard Drew Holiday. That's a scary thing to say, but it's true. Like, you would think that they're 6'10", 6'11", 6'9", whatever. They're athletic. They're bigger than him. But Drew Holiday, low center of gravity. He just bully balls them right into the post, waits for them to jump, be out of position, finishes through contact. He's stronger than both those guys, and it shows, right? Tatum exits the game due to foul trouble. Like, I was thinking at that moment that Joe Mazzulla just cost the Celtics the game, right? Because again, defensively, Tatum is a really big part of what the Celtics do defensively. He's not, like, in this series, I don't think he was their best offensive player. It's just being real. He may be their best offensive player on an average night, but he wasn't in this series. But defensively, he is very integral to what they do, because he is by far their best wing defender as opposed to their guard defender. Like, he's their best like wing / big versatile wing defender. And like clockwork. Indiana Pacers score. Because Obi Toppin, he's falling out of bounds and he just finds Siakam open for a wide open layup. And that's something that I don't think would have happened with Jayson Tatum on the floor. At 2:40, Jaylen Brown floater layup ties the game at 102-102. And at this point, this is exactly when I said this game is over. Now, what did ESPN say at that moment? ESPN said this is close. So it's ironic that my emotions very much mapped this exact momentum chart that ESPN has, like almost to a T. Now, I said it's over because 2 minutes to go, 102-102. It's a super close game. It's coming down to our best versus your best. No pace, no scheme, nothing. Just grind it out for 2 minutes. And I just feel like if this was close at the end, this was going to go the Celtics' way no matter what. They're the better team. They're the more experienced team. They're the more battle tested team. They're the less error prone team, right? And boy, did the Indiana Pacers make their comedy of errors down the stretch. Okay, let's get through these. Let's get through these mistakes. At 2:21, score tied 102-102. McConnell receives a handoff from Siakam. Celtics bring 2 to Siakam, leaving McConnell to shoot a wide open 12-footer. He misses. That was a straight up botched switch. That was not supposed to happen. And the Celtics simply did not have to pay for it. They got away with it. TJ McConnell just misses, right? That's a shot that TJ McConnell has made like, I think 10 times in this series. I'm pretty sure he'll make the next 10 if he got it again. He just happened to miss one. He also missed like a wide open layup, in this game. Like I think Andrew Nembhard missed a wide open layup. Andrew Nembhard did miss a wide open layup. So it's just like there was just like these two things that I feel really bad for the Pacers because they really were right in this game, right? 2:19, Tatum gets the ball on the rebound and darts it to Jrue Holiday, who isn't looking at him and has one eye on McConnell. So, Jayson Tatum gets the ball, and before even coming down with the ball, he darts it over to Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday doesn't see it. He just mishandles it, and it goes right back to TJ McConnell, who's the same guy who just missed the shot. So the basketball gods are like, here, Indiana Pacers, take another one, right? At 2:11, so 8 seconds later, Pascal Siakam drives, inviting contact, but he throws away the ball to Al Horford. So he's looking for a foul. He doesn't get it. I don't think there was a foul on that play. I looked at it 4 times. I don't see a foul. He just lost his mind. He, goes into traffic. And this was a recurring theme, whether you talk about game 3, whether you're talking about game 4, is just Pacers driving into congested paint, trying to do things with the basketball that they objectively are not talented enough to do. Right? You're not Luka Doncic. Your handle's not that tight. You're not going to be able to get into the paint like this and just turn on Jrue Holiday. And he throws the ball away to Al Horford. So Siakam gets back in the play as Jrue Holiday takes him off the dribble. And, I think he fouled him, but good no call. It was incidental contact. And Siakam, who got very handsy with Jrue Holiday, he survives, that Jrue Holiday drive. But Tatum swings it to White, who misses on an open 3 as Nesmith provides a late contest from 26 feet. So another life, Indiana just keeps having more lives and the Celtics keep having more lives. And it's just at this point, it's just who's going to be the team that's going to deliver the final blow, right? But it's 50-50 right now. Everything's 50-50. Another offensive rebound that falls to the Celtics to Tatum. Another chance for Boston with 151. He asks everyone to calm down, and then he hoists a step back 3 over Obi Toppin. Like, I think this is the most frustrating thing about Jayson Tatum. Dude, there's no chance in hell that Obi Toppin can guard you 26 feet from the basket. And there's no one in the paint right now in that moment that could possibly provide any rim deterrence for you. Just go to the basket. Your jump shot's not falling, but Jayson Tatum's going to live with those contested jump shots. And Joe Mazzulla is going to keep telling us that it's good shot quality. I don't get it personally, but hey, he misses it. The Celtics still won. Doesn't matter, right? Okay. And Andrew Nembhard off the miss, grabs the ball, goes into a congested sea of defenders. Same thing as last game. Y'all remember the last game? Last possession, Andrew Nembhard dribbles up the court, turns on Jrue Holiday. Holiday loses his balance. Holiday digs. Nembhard loses the ball. Well, this time, not Jrue Holiday. He turns. He loses the ball to a Jayson Tatum dig. So same situation, different faces, same Andrew Nembhard, same result, right? It's not shade on Andrew Nembhard. I think he played a great game, but he's going to have to learn for next time that, you need to be aware of that second, third defender. Andrew Nembhard sees the game. In my opinion, Andrew Nembhard sees the game a lot better than Pascal Siakam. A lot better. But there is a next level to this, and we're going to have to talk about it in some other video. But when you make the attack, I feel that a lot of players, when they are attacking the paint or they're attacking their defender, they map the floor, they get some idea of what the floor looks like, and then they just make up their mind and they say, okay, my defender is there, I need to get there. The problem is, by the time they get there and they turn their head, the entire floor has changed. Double so in the playoffs, triple so against a really good defense. And that's the problem. When you're Jaylen Brown or Andrew Nembhard, one of those guys, no offense, Jaylen Brown just won, Eastern Conference player, but Larry Bird trophy. But he goes through this too. Jayson Tatum sometimes goes through this too, but he's getting a lot better with this. They don't anticipate where the double and triple team are coming from. Jayson Tatum, again, has gotten a lot better at this, but Jaylen Brown still struggles with this. Pascal Siakam really struggles with this. This might be exactly why he's so bad in the clutch and why historically Pascal Siakam, even with the Raptors last year, we pulled up his clutch percentages many times. He was terrible in the clutch over and over. It's not mental. It's not choking. He's just limited in terms of how he maps the floor. He makes up his mind. He attacks his defender. He makes up his mind. He's like, okay, I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna deke right. I'm gonna turn, and then by the time you get to the second part of your plan, there's a defender swiping down in your hand, and you didn't see that defender because you're not constantly remapping the floor as you're pursuing your attack. This is advanced reading. It's not for everybody. It's not for high school players, not for college players. Most players in D1 can't see the game this way. Most players in the pros and most players in the G League will never see the game this way. When you can play this way, you can do anything. You really can. This is why Luka and Jokic are so successful. They see your double before you send it. That's why they're so successful. And this is why I have such high hopes for Scotty Barnes, because he also sees doubles before you send them. He knows exactly where the defense is moving. He knows your next move before you do, and that's why Draymond has been so successful. When you look at the NBA history, you look at all those guys who, maybe overcame some physical deficits, size, whatever. Draymond Green, Luka Doncic, Nikola Jokic. You look at those guys, Kyle Anderson, Boris Diaw, I think to some extent. What's the common denominator between all those guys? They see the floor. They see everything. Andrew Nembhard, I have no doubt he will get there someday. But this was his 19-year-old Kobe moment. Not to compare Andrew Nembhard and Kobe Bryant, but the point is he's a young kid. He's in his second year. He's going through it, but man, commendable. So turnover, right? Okay. And then hold on here. Jaylen Brown dribbles up the court slowly. He isolates against Aaron Nesmith before going and missing a point blank layup. No one can score. It's still 102-102. 104, Jaylen Brown blocks a wild layup drive from Andrew Nembhard. So this would be the second failed attempt to score in a row from Andrew Nembhard. Then Brown loses the ball in a drive. Somehow, he totally gets loose with the basketball. Not enough was made of this. He regathers midair and throws it out almost like a bomb to the wide open shooter that he sees in the corner. And just so happens that wide open shooter, who was having a very cold night up until that point, seals the game by hitting the biggest three of the night. That's Derek White for three. Nesmith is late on the contest, 105-102, and I wrote in my notes, good night, Indiana, 45 seconds to go. Nembhard hoists another three, misses. Tatum gets a rebound, 30 seconds to go, not realizing the Pacers don't have to foul. Nesmith fouls Tatum, so very lucky. I don't think he knew what he was doing in that moment, but there was a 5-second differential, shot clock, game clock, so you could have just cost yourself the entire freaking series. Well, not the series, but the game within, the series on that mistake, because had you fouled when you didn't need to. But luckily for Indiana, Aaron Nesmith is told at the next stoppage, hey, don't foul. We have this differential. So Indiana opts to play it out. Tatum with another step back three over Turner with 8 seconds to go. Celtics with another miss. Pacers give up another offensive rebound to Drew Holiday as Pascal Siakam is busy 14 feet from the basket. As Indiana's only big trying to box out Al Horford, and Drew Holiday just beats Aaron Nesmith to the spot, passes to Brown off the offensive rebound, who flicks it up in high air, kind of like Mo Pete, shades of Mo Pete, Washington Wizards coming back for any Raptor fans who remember that, to Jayson Tatum as time expires. Simply put, honestly, this, if you want to get down to the nitty gritty of this was the devil was in the details. This right here, to give you the idea, this offensive rebound. Where is it here? This 8.1 seconds, fourth quarter. Jayson Tatum misses what felt like his 500th 28-foot step back jump shot. Pascal Siakam was on the left side of the floor boxing out Al Horford. Al Horford is not some superhuman athlete. Okay. I have referenced this many times in reference to Pascal Siakam, that he often ball watches, that he often will box out his man, but he won't actually rebound, or he boxes out his man at the wrong position. And that's what he did here. In my opinion, rebounding when Miles Turner is switched out 28 feet from the basket, you are the lone big on the court. You have an obligation and damn near should want to grab that rebound. You are also one of the rare players and probably the player who should be initiating the final possession. And so it is very much in your advantage to grab that rebound. Boxing out Al Horford is not easy. I get that. Al Horford has some pounds on Siakam, and I wouldn't, doubt that he has some strength on Siakam. But that being said, you're boxing out Al Horford 14 or 15 feet from the basket, and that's fair too. I mean, long shot, long rebound, but the rebound, this element of rebounding where, good rebounders, really good rebounders, which Siakam is not a great rebounder, know where the ball is going off, right? You see on the release, and Ben Wallace has talked about this before, how I just knew which way the ball was going to bounce, and that intuitive nature of great rebounders where they kind of know if it's coming off soft, if it's coming off hard, if it's coming off left or right. And man, I could see it from my television screen that ball was going to come off left and it was going to come off soft. And it goes right into Drew Holiday's hands. Drew Holiday dribbles to the corner. They don't foul. He passes out to Jaylen Brown. They can't foul in time. This was a team, unfortunately, on the ropes of getting knocked out, and they gave up a valiant fight. I don't think they all fought equally. I don't necessarily know if they all deserve equivalent credit. What I do know is that Indiana is done. That, in my opinion, and I said this prior to the series, so don't say I'm just changing my tune now. I said that they were the worst team that I remember being in the Eastern Conference Finals since the Atlanta Hawks, and I think they might be worse than the Atlanta Hawks, and that was with Tyrese Haliburton. So without Tyrese Haliburton, the fact that this team still gave the Celtics, 2 competitive games is damn near admirable. And I think a lot of that admiration and adulation and kudos and credit should go to TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith, and to some lesser extent, guys like Obi Toppin, Doug McDermott, who showed up big. I think Ben Shepherd had a really rough series overall. I realize a lot of people, are probably, of the mind that Pascal Siakam had a really dominant playoffs. I assure you he didn't. And if I sort through, every single player in this series, and if I was to go to box plus minus, I promise you Pascal Siakam is not one of the top 5 players in this series. Promise you that. He was not one of the top 3 players. He's not one of the top 2 players on his own team. And I think that that's troubling. If you were thinking about long-term future for Indiana, that's troubling. So let's talk about that long-term future as we wait to see. Let's see if Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. I don't want to get too far into talking. So I want to make sure that, if possible, that I can balance some of my talking with some post game to give myself a break here as well. So let me just see here. House of highlights. Yep, we got Jayson Tatum. Nice. Okay. Let's pull this up. Give me one sec. hopefully this time I can hear the audio, because I couldn't hear it last time, and that's really frustrating. But give me one sec here. And if I can't hear the audio this time, just because of how frustrating it is, I'm just going to leave and come back, and hopefully then I can hear it. Let's see here. Yep, can't hear it. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay.
Question for Jayson.
Jayson, your reaction when Jaylen Brown's name was called, he seemed surprised. Everybody seemed very excited for him. What was that moment like for him?
No, it was special. Big time to be rewarded for, how you play. And, that's a special accomplishment for him and for everybody.
And obviously going back to the finals, special accomplishment for you guys. Is there a difference? Is it kind of like the same type of emotions? What's that like for you?
It's special, right? Even though we've been there before, most of us have. You don't take it for granted, right? We were excited. It was a hell of a team we just played. They made us earn every single game, and we're extremely grateful to move on to the finals.
Jayson, all season you guys have talked about the importance of not overreacting to wins or losses, sort of staying mild-mannered. How much do you think that's helped you get to this point, and how important is the balance of keeping that, knowing that this is an amazing accomplishment, but there's still more work to do?
Yeah, I mean, the playoffs is like an emotional roller coaster, and trying to find a balance right in between the wins and the losses, trying to stay even-keeled throughout the entire, however long you're playing, is important. The team that does that the best usually has a lot of success.
Jayson, Jaylen's big play at the end to win it. It's the block, pass. He's known as a scorer. So, I mean, for you, watching him, someone that you've grown with your whole career, how much did it mean that in that big moment, what defined his impact on the game was that pass?
No, that was special. We talked about it before. As a team, however long it takes, whatever we got to do to make sure that we move on and advance.
Jayson, obviously, there's obviously a lot that's happened since you guys were last in this position a couple of years ago. As a group, for you and Jaylen, the guys who've been here, like, what is different about you guys specifically in terms of growth over the last couple of years, and how do you think that will help you get the 4 wins you're looking for over the next few weeks?
Learning from our experience, right? That playoff run was a lot of up and downs. Obviously we fell short of the ultimate goal last year, lost in the conference finals. So I think, we've just applied everything that we've learned to this season, this postseason, and, it's been working really well. No, that was big. D. White is a big-time player, you're right, and especially in that moment, it's a lot on the line, pressure, but, we trust him. JB made the right pass, and D. White knocked down a hell of a shot.
Jay.
The knock on you guys in the past was often, can you close out tough games when it's crunch time? And this series, we're in trouble 3 of these 4 games. What has gone into the evolution there over the years, and what did you lean on to come back in those 3 games?
Just being decisive, understanding, watching a lot of film, knowing the things that we want to run in those late game situations, and being able to apply it and having carryover from film sessions and practice and shoot-arounds and things like that.
Jayson, Derek highlighted the championship stations that Joe has kind of run you guys through. What about those do you think has helped set you guys up to be at this championship stage that you're about to embark on?
It's the little things that we talk about that, can help you win a championship. Defensive rebounding, crashing the glass on offense, communicating, and just little things we do every single day that can take you a long way.
Jayson, to your last point, the game was so tight throughout the second half, and there you are, 5 minutes to go and under, battling with Turner, among others, on the block. As your game has evolved more and more, how much do you relish a physical challenge like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the playoffs, and, in that moment, is like I say it all the time, every press conference is do whatever it takes to help the team win and for us to advance.
Thanks, Jayson.
Jaylen, you seemed genuinely surprised when Cedric Maxwell called your name for that trophy. Were you expecting it? Like, what was your feeling when you heard your name called?
I wasn't expecting it at all. I'll never win, so I was just happy that we won. And give credit to Indiana. They played us tough. I know, like, people think that Indiana wasn't a good team or whatever the case may be. I mean, I thought they were as tough as anybody we've played all season. They were physical, they were fast, they put a lot of pressure on us, so shout out to them and respect to them.
Jaylen, I want to talk about your vocal leadership this year. Obviously, that was something people talked about going in this year, who would kind of be the vocal leader on this team. It looked like you kind of embraced that throughout, kind of motivating teammates, speaking your mind. How did you feel?
Okay, I just want to say I'm so sick and tired of this narrative that Indiana's a good team because they made it to the East Conference Finals. Let me just be clear. Indiana was not good, okay? If the Celtics actually believe this, which I do not believe that they do, but if they actually believe this, they're in for a world of trouble in the next round. I'll just put that out there and just carry the hell on.
Like you took another step there this year and showed comfort in that area.
Yeah, we had some guys leave. So I wanted to make sure that that void was filled. Marcus Smart, one of my brothers that got traded, he was one of the voices of our team. And when he wasn't here, I wanted to make sure I stepped in and make sure that everybody felt me and everybody knew what the standard was. And we didn't skip no steps all season. I think we played the right way every single game. I've held everybody accountable, and this is the byproduct.
Jaylen, D. White had the tip in last year, and this year he hits the shot to send you guys to the finals. How did it feel to see him get that moment and send you guys on?
Great shot. We work on that all the time. 2-on-1 reads. They veered it. I was able to get to the paint with Turner on me and just found him. And before I told D. White, just stay ready, it's coming. And that was just a big shot to put us up 3 and help us advance to the finals.
A number of times this season, Joe's been asked what's changed, and he said time. And he said that time allowed you guys to just figure out how to go about doing things together. How have you guys used time? How have you used experiences to kind of solidify yourselves and get ready for your second trip to the final?
Yeah, I mean, we feel like we're a different team than we were last year and the year before that. I know everybody wants to continue to kind of pigeonhole us to what's happened in the past, but we've had a different team every single year, different coaches. We've had like 3 coaches in the last 5 years, and still people want to, just make it seem like it's the same, it's the same, it's the same. Time has gone by, experience has been gained, and I think we are, ready to put our best foot forward.
Jaylen, basically, as soon as the
I'm not even trying to be a hater. I like the Boston Celtics, but the very fact that he's addressing this on a win gives me the feeling that he also sneaky suspects that they might be the same team, that might run into the same problems. Because no offense, dude, same best player, same team. Same second best player, same team. It's hard to really change your identity when your best player kind of has the same nagging issue year after year after year. But hey, he's right. They've never been better. They've never been more talented. And if Kristaps Porzingis comes back, they've never been healthier. They had a slew of injuries last year. Jayson Tatum, his shoulder, like the year before in the finals. So yeah, I mean, hey, like there's always an excuse. There's always a what if. Not Donald Fagan saying he's just being diplomatic. Appreciate that, but keep it a buck, right? I appreciate honesty.
second half started, we saw an increasingly aggressive offensive mindset from you. What changed in terms of how you were able to attack their defense?
Yeah, I was playing like trash in the first half. The pace was really getting to me. I feel like I was a step behind. And then I just needed to be a little more patient in the second half and let the game kind of come to me a little bit more. And I did that. I was just trying to get to the basket and use my physicality. But, you know, if the game tells you to shoot a jump shot, you got to shoot a jump shot. And so in the second half, I think I made 3 threes, let the jumper fly a little bit more. And
Clutch Tatum, I need you to bookmark 1 hour into this video and come back to this in 2 weeks and tell me how I was about to go there, bro. I was about to go y'all remember Shaq's diss track to Kobe Bryant where he said, "Yo Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes." Okay. Come back 1 week or 2 weeks from now and tell me how Luka ass tastes, bro.
That opened some stuff up for me. So sometimes, you know, you just got to be flexible. You got to be versatile. And just the game will tell you what you need to do.
Jaylen, it's been a year of growth for you. You've taken a step forward. You wanted to live up to the contract. But there were some statements made about you in recent days. And how have you – do you use the negativity as motivation? How do you view that when – that comes out of the blue? You responded. You wanted to know what happened and where it came from, and how do you motivate? How does that motivate you when it seems like there is just the negativity and criticism keeps coming?
You just embrace it. You know, at this point, I'm at that phase in my life where I just embrace all forms of negativity or whatever the case is. You know, some stuff I don't understand. It ain't meant for me to understand it, but I just know who I am and what I stand for. Sometimes makes people feel uncomfortable, and sometimes I miss out on things. I miss out on opportunities, awards, marketing deals, or whatever the case may be. And, you know, at this point, I just embrace it. You know, I am who I am, and I'm going to stand on my beliefs. And I'm one of those people who would die for what they believe in. So I just embrace it at this point. And I'm grateful that I'm able to be in this position, and the energy is about to shift.
Jaylen, your scoring obviously was huge in the series, but the main reason you got that trophy there was big block, big assist at the very end. You've been wanting, I think, to be known as more than a scorer for a while. Do you feel like the world sees you as that? And do you feel like you've gone from believe you could be that to truly being that now?
I think I'm one of the best two-way wings, guards, whatever you want to say in this game. You know, I thought this year I've taken a level and I've increased it. I took the matchup. I picked up guys full court. I chased guys off screens. I battled with bigs, and I felt like I should have been all defensive. And that probably hurt me the most because that's one of the things that I set out in the season that I wanted to be. But, you know, as time has gone by and I got to this point, I stopped caring. And I just embrace. I don't care who sees what. As long as my team knows my value, my city knows my value, my family, that's all I really care about. But, you know, I like to set my hat on just being a versatile two-way wing, and can do both at any point in time. And the last kind of 4 minutes of this game, you saw that.
Jaylen, you guys obviously had some big comebacks in the series, some powerful finishes. What do you think you guys kind of learn in these situations, and how can it maybe help you moving forward in the finals?
Execution down the stretch. I thought that we made some big time plays and some shots. Defensively, I thought we got some good film to be able to see that, break that down, and see where we can improve. Offensively, I thought we spaced the floor well, and I thought we made timely plays. We got a lot of great players in our locker room that made big-time plays. Drew was one game. D. White was this game. Al was another game. JT. We've all been able to take turns just being able to make impactful winning plays, and that's what it's about.
How much did you guys practice late-game situations this year? Like, how much of an emphasis was that, and was it more than in previous seasons?
Yeah, I think I'll give credit to our coaching staff. We were very organized this year. We went over a lot of late game situations and stuff like that. We're always trying to think the game, and we got to be in those positions. And you know, everybody talks about what our late game offense looks like. And I thought we got some great opportunities in this series to display that, and we came out on top, so that was great.
Jaylen, can you take us through what happened with the play with TJ?
The play with TJ, where I fouled him?
Yeah.
I was just going for the ball. The game is so fast, just trying to make a play on the ball, and I think I got him in the face a little bit. And, TJ's my guy. I got nothing but respect for TJ McConnell. We talked throughout the year. We talked even before the series, man. TJ is a dog. When I said that some of those guys are turning into Michael Jordan, TJ McConnell is who I was talking about, man. He was like one of the more unstoppable players on that team. So, I didn't mean no harm. I got him in the face a little bit, but rub some dirt on it. Hopefully it'll be all right.
Final two questions, Gary, then Candace.
Jaylen, can you talk about what happened with Miles Turner? Maybe younger Jaylen might have a different response to getting pushed with two hands like that. Can you take me through what happened and what you're thinking?
Yeah, Miles, Miles is a good kid. Let's start with that. And I think,
Whoa. What the fuck? Good kid. Okay. I mean, he is a good person, but bro, you're basically the same age. What are we doing here?
Throughout the series, he kind of loses control of his body a little bit and likes to throw his body around. And we got the offensive foul, but, I just was letting them know, just watch it. And I don't think it was nothing crazy. I didn't push him extremely hard or nothing like that, but emotions is flying.
I just want to confirm Miles Turner is a year older than Jaylen Brown. That's
feel like, he's at home. He got his family watching and stuff. His girl was probably watching, so he had to do something. But, Miles is a good kid, and I've known Miles for a long time. We good friends, so.
Stop calling him kid.
It's all love.
Final question, Candace.
Jaylen, you talked about the differences between the last couple of years. Besides being older and wiser, personally, how did the moment at the buzzer feel different than the moment at the buzzer 2 years ago in Miami?
I mean, yeah, completely different, from winning to losing. But even in the sense that if we didn't, regardless of the result this year, just internally, I've been able to, focus more on myself in terms of keeping my composure, managing that game anxiety and stuff and keeping your mentality, keep going. Those are stuff that I think from last year to this year that I was able to work on and improve on. So, regardless of the result, I thought this year has been my best year in that regard.
Thank you, Jaylen.
Thank you.
Okay. We're gonna go to a final one, which is gonna be Drew Holiday. I'm not really sure I want to listen to the Indiana side of this too much, or Al Horford, but Drew Holiday is a great interview in general. He's just a very, very thoughtful person. So really wanted to hear what he had to say and kind of just wash out the last post game. I just think I like Drew. I like Drew Holiday a little bit more than I like Jaylen Brown. So let's just listen to this and see what he says, and then we'll break down where Indiana goes from here and where where Boston's going from here. All right, let's get to Drew. Yo, I could legit say Drew Holiday is a good kid, but I would never say that. But he is actually younger than me. But it's so weird I don't know. He's a good kid. I think that's gonna become a recurring theme in this channel's lexicon of inside jokes. He's just a good kid, man. He's just a good kid. All right.
Drew, you've been here before. Over here. You've been here before. Now you're doing it again. What's that feeling like?
He was 2 seconds away from telling that reporter, I don't even know where you're sitting at.
What was that feeling like out there?
It never gets old. I think this series, so much credit goes to Indiana, to the Pacers. They're a really good team. And I think every game, maybe besides game 2, could have went either way. So much credit to them. But I think winning and winning's hard, especially in this capacity and in this series. It feels good to be able to get the win and then move on to the finals.
Drew, what's your feelings now as you're once?
Here's a bet. I'm gonna bet that Drew Holiday is gonna spend less than 35 seconds talking about himself in this entire interview, and I love that about him. That's just a bet.
Step
I'm just gonna
away
guess.
as you now have some time to rest and you maybe get Kristaps back. Just kind of your feeling as a team as you're trying to gear up now for a week from Thursday.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm there yet. Still kind of excited about the win, and I mean, you see the merch. Just really excited that we did this as a team, and it wasn't just one person or a couple people. We know when KP went down, people would have to step up, and everybody did, from Jayson and JB all the way down to, O'Shea, who got in and played great minutes. So great team effort. The coaching staff did great in preparing us for this whole series and making adjustments on the fly and all that. So it's been really excited to get this win.
Drew, Derek keeps coming up big in big moments. It just seems like the team's in good hands when he has the ball late in clutch moments. Do you feel that way?
100%. He's a point guard. He's the one who manages the clock. He's the one who gets us into things and into actions, manages time, and he had a big three in the corner. Just making big plays, and I'm not sure he gets enough credit for everything that he does. So the way that Derek's played has been how he's been playing all year, all-star level, but you can see the leadership and how he's been playing.
Drew, a couple years ago when this team made a finals run, you were often the one guarding Jaylen. He wasn't quite the playmaker, wasn't quite the defender, didn't read the game at the same level. Now that you've been playing with him for a year, seeing that growth from when you were the one trying to stop him in these big moments, how do you feel like he's evolved?
You see it. I feel like kind of like what you said. I think our game plan then was to try to let JB do it by himself, and I just have this one-on-one matchup. But and he's tough. He's tough going one-on-one. But I think the way that he makes the way that he makes his team better, he can literally get to the basket or in the paint whenever he wants to. But I think to make that extra pass out and just trust in his teammates has been big for us to be able to knock down threes or make extra plays somewhere else and build our confidence. So JB's growth in that area and his playmaking has been huge.
Drew, earlier this season, Joe said something along the lines of, I hope we're down by 10 more. I hope we blow more leads to get that experience. This series, like you mentioned, 3 of those games could have gone either way. How did that constant, mindset preaching help you in this series and getting that experience in the playoffs and succeeding? How does that going to help you in the finals?
Yeah, I think Joe's pretty good at, I wouldn't say predicting situations, but kind of putting us in awkward situations or situations that are very, very possible. We know that we're a pretty good team, and we're a pretty good team in the regular season, but the playoffs is a different beast. And again, the last 2 games we were down 8 with 2 minutes left, and I think to be able to manage the game, having Derek White out there manage the game, and then JT and JB kind of take over, that's exactly what Joe was talking about. I think we have the mindset and the character for it, and we just went out there and showed it.
Drew, I think it's fair to say Jaylen Brown has been underrated for large portions of his career, maybe left off ballots. He spoke today. He was not expecting to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP. For you as his teammate, what did it feel like to see him hold that trophy, huge smile across his face, being recognized at such a high level?
Yeah, it felt great. And maybe even a part of it, I think it's even better because he didn't expect it. That really means that didn't matter to him. It was about winning, and whatever it took, however long it took, that's what was important. So I think when you have that mentality and that mindset and you see great people get rewarded for the things that they do, it just brings joy. So I'm super excited for him. He's been a first team all NBA for the whole season, and wish he would have got that, but to see him get this award is big time.
Drew, another close finish here. Joe's been so big on the mental aspect of the game. When the game gets to those clutch moments and you guys really have to lock in, how much does he rely on that kind of mental side of the game?
I think it's huge. I think he knows that we have the character and the mentality to take what he says and go out and apply it. I think Joe also knows that we're not going to get rattled. We're going to go out there, we're going to play, and we're going to play as hard as we can and try to execute the best we can and see where the cards lie. So I think we've done a good job of just going out there, trying to execute the best we can, and I think especially toward these last couple of games, doing it as a team.
Drew, you're now 2 for 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Everyone wants to be at the best when the games matter most, but you've actually done it. What is it about your preparation and your mindset that allows you to maximize these opportunities?
I don't know. I think I try my best to stay faithful, stay grounded, and most importantly, have fun. If you can't enjoy this, then I don't know what you can enjoy. Not too many people get a chance to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I know it can be a lot of pressure and a lot of buildup, but this is what we play for. This is what the game is about. So just really blessed to be here, really grateful and excited that I was in these conference finals and getting to go back to the finals.
Drew, looking at the other backcourt, Andrew really came into his own in this series. It's a different dynamic with Tyrese out, but how much does something like that alter maybe or influence your communication, your connectedness on defense?
I mean, it influences it a lot. We know what type of player Tyrese is. Very, very great player who can go off at any moment. And we also see what type of player Andrew is, or Drew is. So he's a dog. He showed it when Tyrese went out. He showed it even before that. He's showed it through these playoffs that he does it on both ends of the floor. He'll take on the challenge on anybody. He went from guarding me in the beginning to guarding JT and JB in these last couple of games. So very, very impressive on his part and their whole team, honestly. I don't know if people give the Pacers enough credit, but they're a really good team.
Thank you, Drew.
Thanks.
Parker saying no disrespect to Drew, but his Eastern Conference Finals have been the 21 Hawks and the 24 Pacers. Easy to see why he won both times. Man, that is super, super, super brutal, but also impossible to argue against, right? Like, you got to be objective and real about this. There's no way in hell that you can make a case that those are not two of the worst Eastern Conference teams. I have railed against this pretty much my whole life. I don't care about conference finals, NBA finals. I don't care about this stuff. What I care about is the champion, right? Because, and even like sometimes there's like a little bit of an asterisk to the champion. Like, so there has to be more of a consideration for who is actually the best team in basketball, because that's really what we're doing all of this to figure out, right? We're playing the playoffs to figure out who's the best team. And we think that we have the right format to figure that out. We have the right number of games, 7-game series, 5-game series. It used to be 5-game series. Now it's 7-game series. The right, conference seeding, conference play, interconference play. And then, we get the conference 8-1, 4 versus 5, 3 versus 6. We think that we have the right format to figure this out, because really all of this is a test to figure out who is the best, right? And so these teams are put through, a month and a half of this grueling task of playing these exceedingly physical, tough matchups, and we just see who has the will, who has the determination, and that's really very romantic, but it's the truth. That's why we play so many games. That's why we, seed this the way that we do. And yeah, the Celtics played who was in front of them. They didn't ask Jimmy Butler to be hurt. I mean, are we just going to ignore the fact that Eric Spoelstra is widely considered the best coach in basketball? They beat him, right? But we're going to ignore that because we're like, but look at how much talent the Celtics have. And then in the next round, they did have Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and Darius Garland, but they made Darius Garland look like a punk. They made Darius Garland look like a non-issue. And then they blew out that team. And then by the end of it, we were dealing with Karis LeVert being out of the game, and Max Strus was like arguably the best offensive option. And we were preying on Sam Merrill games for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so maybe it's worth asking, is this really fair? Have the Celtics really beat anybody, right? And now they come into Indiana, they beat the Indiana Pacers, but do they really beat them? Did they beat them convincingly? And so the question then becomes, why do they have to win the way you want them to win? And does winning the way we want them to win make them a better team? As in, would they be better off beating the Indiana Pacers by 30 points in the first quarter, blowing the brakes out of the building, having the fans leave at halftime? Because I'm pretty sure that they could. That's how good this team is. That's how good the Boston Celtics are, right? You have to think about this from a purely hypothetical point, right? Now, there was a quote from Chris Finch following the Minnesota Timberwolves beating the Denver Nuggets. And I don't think that it was true, but it was worth thinking about, where he said, I told my team prior to the beginning of the series that we're better at our best. Our best is better than their best. Now, I don't think that that's true, because I think we saw a lot of the Minnesota Timberwolves play their best basketball, and I don't think we saw enough of the Denver Nuggets play their best basketball. So I think that's cap. But it is a worthwhile thing to think about. Who's better at their best, right? It's one thing to say that, this guy lost in this series, or that team lost, or whatever. But what about at their best? And that's really the point of a 7-game series, is to balance out all the shot variance and fluky shooting luck and all that stuff to get to an objective reality or an answer about which of these two teams is better. A question worth asking is, how much do matchups determine that? So, for instance, we're talking about the Celtics being this great team because they are up there with, all those other great teams that lost fewer than 20 games going into the finals. Okay, here's a question. If they played in the Western Conference, how many losses do they have up until this point? Provided they're in the Western Conference Finals, let's say they're, are they better than Minnesota? I think they're better than Minnesota, personally. I do. But Minnesota has way more than 20 losses, right? So how much of an asterisk do we have to put next to that record and next to their domination, right? It's the same thing with Indiana. I mean, the way we're talking about Indiana and Boston right now, y'all think like you would think neither of these teams made the Eastern Conference Finals. Neither of these teams were very good basketball teams. The truth is, they're top 6 teams in their conference, both of them. One of them is decidedly better than the other. One of them, suffered some health issues. They both had health issues, frankly. Indiana was missing Tyrese Haliburton and Benedict Mathurin, right? And for Boston, they were missing Kristaps Porzingis. They're missing Luke Cornett. I don't know how much that matters, but they're missing Luke Cornett. That is there, right? So they're missing guys too. So both teams, neither of these teams is fully at like 100% health right now. So the question then becomes two-pronged. Number one, let's talk about Indiana, what they do going forward, and how much of the success they should really buy into. And number two, what's next for Boston? So let's talk about Indiana first. I think Indiana has found a gem in Andrew Nembhard. I spotted this last year in that breakout game he had in Tyrese Haliburton's absence against Golden State, where he beat the Golden State Warriors, basically. I hate to say a player beat a team, but he actually beat the Golden State Warriors in Golden State. He's awesome. He's a great player. I don't say great player, but he's going to be a great player. Like, he has that irrational confidence. He needs to tighten some stuff up, but he does. He has third starter on a really good team type of upside. I don't think he has star, all-star, superstar, whatever. He might make a couple all-star teams in his lifetime, but man, this guy, when you put the ball in his hands, like, he does good things, and he's pesky, like, without the basketball, on the other end. Like, he can pick up full court. He's a little bit overrated defensively, but he's not bad defensively. So I think that this is a very interesting player to monitor going forward. And I think, if he and, I wonder, can you ever play him, TJ McConnell, and Tyrese Haliburton together? Because that's going to be a problem. Because you could argue those are 3 of your top 6 players on any night. Those are 3 of your top 6 players, and you can't play them together because all 3 of them naturally need the basketball in their hands. Is this a consolidation move? Did TJ McConnell and Andrew Nembhard play themselves into an elite position where, I don't know, maybe they could convert? Maybe they can convert. Maybe the Indiana Pacers need to look at this and they need to go aggressively into buy mode. Maybe they need to convert Aaron Nesmith and one of these guards into a Mikal Bridges. Does that help them? Right? Ball asking, can Tyrese be a number 1? I don't think he can. I think he'd be better off as a number 2, but it's damn hard to argue that when healthy, when that hammy injury is not hurting him, that the Indiana Pacers feel very unstoppable with him. I think the bigger question I have is how do you compensate for his and Pascal Siakam's defense when you combined pay those guys $90+ million a year? That's a lot of money to put on two non-defenders in your starting lineup, both of whom are probably going to play at minimum 30 minutes a night together. At minimum. They're both starting out quarters. We already talked about it. How you start out halves, how you start out quarters, how you close out quarters is the most important part of the game. Guess what? That's your starters. Those two guys are always on the court. I'm not sure, like, you could put OG Anunoby on that team. It's going to be hard to cover for both those guys. It's tough. But I think the Pacers, their big saving grace is that if they were to get rid of Ben Mathurin or Aaron Nesmith or Andrew Nembhard or Obi Toppin or whoever, really, or Miles Turner or even Pascal Siakam, turn around, I don't know, trade him down the line. There's so much coming up in the pipeline. Ben Shepherd didn't have a great series, but I think he has a bright future. For a rookie, maybe the lights were too bright, but I think he has a bright future. I think I've seen enough from him over the season to think they got something in the second round. Again, this is a team that back-to-back, Kevin Pritchard once again picks up a great player in the second round, for a second-round pick. Ben Shepherd, Andrew Nembhard, back-to-back years. Great. And, if memory serves me correctly, they'll have another pick this year. So let's see what they do, right? Are they a top 3 or 4 team in the East? Or is this one of those Atlanta Hawks, situations where you get one more injury and boom, you're 8th, 9th in the East again? I don't know. But the East is coming, man. The East is coming. Boston's not going anywhere. The Bucks will be back. It's hard to imagine that the Cavaliers, with all the moves that they're making in their front office, that they're not going to retool very quickly around Donovan Mitchell, and who knows what they do with Darius Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, etc. I imagine the bottom of the East will elevate a little bit, so there won't be as many free victories for the Indiana Pacers to pick up on. But that being said, the Indiana Pacers in the regular season are a very difficult team to face, right? They run the pace. The question is, how much of that pacing that they pride themselves on has been taken away by, bringing in Pascal Siakam, and how much of their cap flexibility going forward, to retain some of these young players like Jarris Walker, et cetera, down the line is going to be hampered by the second apron, et cetera, versus how much is the rising cap going to help them? I don't know. These are all hypotheticals, but they have a boatload of assets. They still have some picks, and they have a lot of young players that I believe in. And I think that all of that combines for potentially being able to trade for a third guy. It just, you don't want to be in a situation where you miss on the third guy, because I think you might have missed on the second guy. Because I think if I can go back and I'm Indiana, I probably offer one more first round pick, or maybe, one more asset, and I opt for OG Anunoby instead of Pascal Siakam, right? Because I think that was the better fit. I think adding another non-defender to a team that I inevitably know is trying to build around, Tyrese Haliburton, who is a really bad defender and, needs guys who do other things around him. He needs screen setters. He needs guys who set solid screens around him. Now you have two bigs, neither of whom really set super solid screens for him, right? In a lot of ways, a guy like Tyrese Haliburton, he needs to maybe they take a swing at Zach Edey or something. I don't know. They need to get the ball out of his hands, but this isn't exactly the way I would do it. So anyways, I remain curious about their future. I remain very bullish on their long-term assets, their young players. I remain somewhat bearish about the long-term potential of Tyrese Haliburton and Pascal Siakam being the type of dynamic duo that can win you a championship, or, even bring you to another conference finals. Because as Pascal Siakam said in his very mopey, somewhat depressing interview, this is not guaranteed that you get back here. And I think he's setting the stage up for reality. And the reality is good luck, but as of right now, I would not pick the Pacers to come back to this stage next year. Now, Mr. Z, LOL bud, the Pacers came back from 2-0 lead. The Knicks had a 3-2 lead and couldn't close it. Tell me what went wrong for the New York Knicks. I'll wait. Was there a Josh Hart abdominal injury? Was there an OG Anunoby injury? Was there a Jalen Brunson injury? Was there a constant nagging, wear of playing that many guys undermanned? I mean, Indiana Pacers fans want to swear that injuries don't make any fucking difference until you lose Tyrese Haliburton, and then suddenly injuries are the fucking. I'm not rooting for the Pacers to fail. I actually started this year very, very supportive of the Pacers and very supportive of Tyrese Haliburton. And then something switched up, and I started to sense an arrogance from that team, especially when they, I don't know. I think you find out who people are when they're a little bit successful, and then when they got that taste of success after the in-season tournament, and they got to the finals, I felt, in my opinion, when they got to the finals against the Lakers in the in-season tournament, then they lost, and then suddenly all this shit came out about how Tyrese wants help and blah 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 blah. I was just like, you know what? In conjunction, while I was standing with Tyrese when he did the the Dame time celebration on Damian Lillard and all that stuff, I just kind of felt like, is Tyrese Haliburton kind of like a front runner, you know? Um, and I started to reevaluate my emotions about Tyrese Haliburton because, again, analytically, he's incredible, and I have defended him like for years as one of my favorite young players in the league because I think he plays the right way. He plays great basketball, but he has holes, man. He has a slow release. He's a terrible defender. And, I think these things can be schemed out. He's a great player. He's a great player. He's one of the top 5 point guards in the NBA. No question. The question is it going to be a question? He wouldn't be the first player in league history to be, somewhat schemed out or maybe not recover properly from a hamstring injury. Hamstring injuries do have a tendency to lead to other stuff down the line. So maybe that. It didn't seem like the same Tyrese Haliburton, that 11, 12, 13 crazy box plus minus guy that we saw at the beginning of the year. So how much of that is, the spacing that they had with Buddy Hield and Bruce Brown and, the guys that they had back then versus who they have now, which is Pascal Siakam, who's pretty much camping out in the low block. So I don't know. Going forward, I didn't trust this team. I picked them to lose in the first round. Full disclosure, I picked the Pacers to lose in the first round to the Milwaukee Bucks. Then Giannis is out of that series, and I'm just wrong. I thought Giannis is going to come back in game 2 and end this team. He didn't come back. And then, next thing you know, the series is over. Patrick Beverley's yapping. Damian Lillard's out. And I'm just like, oh, shit. And then in the second round, I picked them to lose to the Knicks. And then the Knicks started to get injured. Maybe it's just playing against this team is really hard. They are a really hard team to play against because they break your rhythm in terms of what you expect a basketball game to be. But I do believe that over some period of time, that will be something that teams will adapt to, that their pace is something that wears on you in the regular season because it is such a departure from what your regular schedule is like and what your regular game is like. But over a 7-game series, it becomes a little less effective, kind of like the 7 seconds or less Suns. Moving on to the Boston Celtics. Is this team good? Is this team really, really freaking good? Is this team way better than most of us are giving them credit for? And are they about to sweep, the Dallas Mavericks? Well, that depends, right? I don't think they're going to sweep anybody. First of all, whether it's the Wolves or the Mavericks, I don't think they're sweeping them. But they do have a really good chance to beat the Mavericks. Why do they have a good chance to beat the Mavericks? Well, partially because of the matchups, partially because of, Kristaps Porzingis is a stretch big, okay? The Dallas Mavericks haven't really had to go up against one other than Chet, who couldn't buy a bucket in that entire series, but he was open the entire time, right? So Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, I'm not saying they can't guard on the perimeter. Gafford, not so much. But without Kleber, who may come back, I guess, Maxi Kleber may be back. And if Maxi Kleber's back, okay, Jason Kidd's got a war chest of options, and, they're going to know how to deal with this. But without Kleber, and especially without Lively, I would actually say the series favors the Celtics. Series favors the Celtics largely because they are the more experienced team in terms of final situations. And I think, without Lively, they're the deeper team. Sam Hauser had a really tough series offensively, but don't expect him to play like this. He was virtually unplayable in this series offensively. He had, I think, mentioned to some extent that the pace and speed which Indiana plays is really to his detriment. He tried and competed defensively. Will Luke Cornett be back? I don't know. But you're gonna need some size to counteract that. I think there's a world in which Boston wins comfortably, and that world is a world in which the hypothetical Celtics are real. And what I mean by the hypothetical Celtics is that for the entire year, we have believed that the Boston Celtics play with their food, that they don't take their opponents seriously, they play down to their competition. And I think that that is almost beyond debate at this point. They clearly do. Um, Either that is because that's pretty much who they've always been. This is a team that got down 0-3, to the Miami Heat before trying to climb back last year. This is a team that has blown big leads. This is a team that has blown series leads. So they're not exactly, it's not a new thing. But Joe Mazzulla talking about like embracing being down 10 and, putting teams into that situation and kind of growing guys. It makes me wonder, how comfortable is this team playing super hard for 48 minutes a night? There's a conditioning element to this too, right? When you start getting bumped, like you just played against Indiana, a team that is completely hopeless on defense, and you had a night like tonight where you shot 32% from three. And I guarantee you, you're doing this against Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Nesmith and the 5'11" TJ McConnell. Like Kyrie Irving is a better defender, than some of these guys, right? Like, and he's the worst defender among the guard rotation in Dallas, and he's not bad. Luka's been playing defensively. He's a tough guy to move around. And if Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown want to go one-on-one against Luka in the post, they can do that. I think he'll hold his own. I think, again, we have seen it over and over that the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks are winning in very similar ways, which is that they stay connected up until the fourth quarter, and then boom, they just close out. The Celtics are closing out because of offensive rebounds, because other teams are making mistakes, because crazy shot making by Jaylen Brown, by spacing threats and their elite spacing through Derek White. But I think the advantage here is that the Boston Celtics are doing this against the Indiana Pacers. The Dallas Mavericks had like a considerably, and I want to say considerably better outing in game 3. I mean, talking offensively. Y'all realize the Dallas Mavericks, I think, shot 55% from the field against the best defense in the world, best defense in history, all the stuff that people said. The Dallas Mavericks are coming off a series. Yo, you know what I would liken it to? I would liken it to wearing 20-pound ankle weights. There was this one day where I wore 20-pound ankle weights, which is a significantly heavy ankle weight. And I just wore them around because someone told me in grade 9, you wear these ankle weights, you're going to fly in practice. And I didn't realize that they didn't mean all day. So I get to practice and I'm like, oh my God, I've been dragging these 20-pound ankle weights for the entire damn game. The entire damn day. I went through classes with them. I went through lunch. I walked home. I walked from school. I walked from home to school with them. So I've just been wearing these 20-pound ankle weights. I hadn't experienced life without these ankle weights for a really long time. And then I took them off. Yo, it felt like I was flying. I mean, I couldn't dunk still, but it really felt like, holy shit, was I moving fast? That resistance that had built up by carrying those 20-pound ankle weights, it's kind of what I feel going up against a tough series against the Minnesota Timberwolves is like. When you can do this shit against Rudy Gobert, Kristaps Porzingis is not going to bother you. You're already used to angling your shot this way. You're already used to the contact. The physicality that guys like Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels and Karl-Anthony Towns and Naz Reid, Kyle Anderson, like this relentless, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like all of these defensive tools. It's like the Dallas Mavericks have just gone through this perfect simulation to test them for the Boston Celtics defensively. Now, obviously, offensively, the Celtics are in another stratosphere than than the Boston Celtics. Sorry, than the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that's where I think it comes down to who's the best player in the series, who's the second best player in the series. I think for this series to lean, first of all, there's no question in my mind who the best player in the series is. Don't cap, don't be stupid. Don't try to debate it. Don't try to get cute with it. It's not close. It's not close at all. It's Luka. It's always going to be Luka. Luka is the best player in the series, hands down. No questions asked. Okay, Nikola Jokic is sitting at home. Joel Embiid's in Cancun right now. There's nobody left in the playoffs who is even remotely on his level, and that includes Anthony Edwards. That includes Jayson Tatum. That includes Jaylen Brown. That includes everybody. Okay, so the best player plays for Dallas. The second best player, that is the debate. Is it going to be JB? Is it going to be Jayson Tatum? Is it going to be Derek White? Is it going to be Drew Holiday? Or is it going to be Kyrie Irving? If it's Kyrie Irving, that's the second best player in this series, it's a wrap for Dallas. I think for Boston to win this series, they will have to basically have the best, second best, third best, and fourth best players, which means that Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, and Jayson Tatum are going to all have to be better effectively, efficiently, defensively, in terms of impact than Kyrie Irving. Only then, in my opinion, will they be able to beat the Dallas Mavericks. There's a lot of things that are in favor of Boston. They have home court advantage. They are technically the more, they have more continuity. This Dallas team was kind of put together like with duct tape at the trade deadline. So maybe you could ask that, I do believe that Dallas team is more bought in. I believe they're a little bit more mature in terms of how they approach things. And if Derek Lively is in, I think that they are going to present a ton of mistakes. A ton of issues for some of the mistakes that Dallas made against Indiana. I mean, simply put, this is human nature. You have gone up against, in my opinion, one of the worst defensive teams in the playoffs. They are the worst defensive teams in the playoffs. Indiana was one of the worst defensive teams in the playoffs, bar none. They're terrible. They looked good for quarters at a time against Boston. They also looked good for quarters at a time against New York, but that's a completely different situation. So either I am to believe that this Indiana team just morphed into a competent defensive team somewhere when the playoffs started. They just turned it on and were like, okay. Or I am to believe the truth, which is, I see Pascal Siakam making mistakes almost every single time. I think Miles Turner is highly overrated as a defender. I think Andrew Nembhard is highly overrated as a defender. I think Aaron Nesmith is highly overrated as a defender. And frankly, a lot of stagnant offense is going to make players look better than they really are. I think the type of competition that we've been watching in the Western Conference Finals and the Western Semis is so good that I think any one of the four teams that made the Western Conference Semis would give the Celtics a very troubling series, in my opinion. I believe that every single team that made the Western Conference semifinals is very capable of sweeping the Indiana Pacers. So really, what this comes down to is there were 5 teams, really, in the entire league. 4 of them were in the West. 1 of them was in the East. Boston Celtics, and then they had the OKC Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Dallas Mavericks, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sorry, OKC Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks, and Denver Nuggets. The Dallas Mavericks had to go through 2 actual contenders to get to the Celtics. The Celtics have had to go through 0. And that will be the difference, in my opinion. Unless you buy that there's some magic bullet that the Celtics are going to turn on where it's like, oh God, it's Luka and Kyrie, let's kill them. I think the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And I feel like this Celtics team just does not have that killer instinct. And I also believe that Jason Kidd is going to coach circles around Joe Mazzulla. Now, I am very much willing to be wrong on this one. And I think, there's a very good chance I am wrong. There's a very good chance I'm wrong. This is a series where a lot of people are going to look very stupid because I think Vegas has prohibitively favored the Celtics to win. Okay. They are clearly going to be favored in any matchup. Okay. Partially because of historical precedents, partially because of home court advantage, partially because I don't know. But they are going to be favored. But there's this old adage that in order to win a championship, you need to have a top 5 player, a top 5 defense, and a top 5 offense. Dallas Mavericks have the top 5 player, the top 5 defense, and top 5 offense. The Boston Celtics have the top 5 defense, the top 5 offense. I don't know if the Jayson Tatum I've seen so far is a top 5 player in the NBA. I don't know. Celtics fans give me hell, but I don't know if what I'm watching is a top 5 player. I admire the hell out of Jayson Tatum. I think he's a really good player. Is he a top 5 player in the NBA? He's not. Not better than Shea? Nope. Not better than Luka? Nope. Not better than Embiid? Nope. Not better than Jokic? Nope. And you probably put Giannis over him too. That's 5. There was some serious debate about him versus Jalen Brunson. I don't know if that's fair to Jayson Tatum. Clearly, voters thought, or the NBA thought, that Jaylen Brown was better than him. Jaylen Brown is definitely not a top 5 player. He's not even a top 10 player in the NBA, in my opinion. Pure cap by Drew Holiday saying he should be first team All NBA. Have you seen the first team All NBA? JB belongs on that team. Craziness. So I think it's going to come down to, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. They have a lot of scars, a lot of pain. They've been on the stage before. Luka hasn't been on the stage before. But I got to tell you, Luka is a different beast. You're not stopping Luka. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, doesn't matter. Lou Dort couldn't stop him. Jaden McDaniels can't stop him. Jayson Tatum ain't stopping him. Okay? There's nothing. So if health is on Dallas' side, as in if Luka is healthy and Derek Lively is healthy and Maxi Kleber comes back, that's a lot of qualifications, but yes, things do have to go right to beat a team like the Celtics. Then I pick the Dallas Mavericks. If Lively is out for a couple of weeks with that neck strain, I'm not even sure if I see Dallas getting to the Eastern to the finals. I think Lively is that important. So the best version of the Boston Celtics is better than the best version of the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, I agree with that. In a hypothetical simulation in 2K, in a data model, if I just plug in the players and their attributes, yes, the Boston Celtics are a better team than the Dallas Mavericks. Yes, on paper, yes. By the analytics, yes. By advanced metrics and whatever, yes. By 2K's rating system, probably yes. It's hard to imagine a team that has a more talented top 5 player. Like, you have to think about it. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis. I can make a very solid argument that all 5 of those guys are top 25 players in the NBA. You may not agree with that. Drew Holiday is probably off that list right now, but he could probably get himself. He's close. He's not that far off. Okay, not top 25, top 35. When have you ever seen a team with 5 guys who are top 35 players? So, yes, hypothetically, they have that. They have that tremendous depth. But, I watched a team with tremendous depth in the Portland Trailblazers, circa 2000, 2001, with crazy depth, just amazing roster construction. They had Damon Stoudemire, I think Steve Smith, Bonzi Wells, Rasheed Wallace, Brian Grant. Who else? Who else was on that team? I might be screwing up like a few iterations because they had some guys turnovers. Detlef Schrempf, Dale Davis. Like, my God, there were so many guys that you're like, oh my God, do they have like 7 of the top 60 players in the NBA right now? But when you go to Shaq and Kobe, all that mattered was they had that one guy. And they had the second guy. They had the 2 best players in the series. And I think there's a very good chance with the added dimension of motivation for Kyrie being in Boston, all the things that were said about him in Boston, by Boston, a lot of history in Boston that dates back to the 70s and 60s and 50s. And you can read all about Boston if you know where I'm going with that. There's a lot of stuff that may be extra fuel for Dallas. I just feel Dallas is a better team. I feel that let me say this correctly. I know that Boston is the better team. I know that. I still pick Dallas to win. that's what I've been trying to build up to for 20 minutes of rambling. So we'll see what happens there. And maybe, tomorrow Minnesota becomes the first, does step one of becoming the first team in NBA history to, go and win 4 after losing 3. Who knows? And that's still on the table. I doubt it. Avant Traders saying Lively is out game 4. That's not surprising at all to me. I'll be very curious to see how they play without him. That injury, watching it 3 times over and over yesterday was scary as hell. They're calling it our next sprain, I think, to avoid, the concussion protocol and stuff. But I'm very curious. I think Derek Lively has been their 3rd best player. If you look at the analytics on, who their best players have been per box with minus, their best player has been Luka. Their 2nd best player, I believe, has been Maxi Kleber. Their 3rd best player has been Derek Lively. So he's been ahead of even Kyrie Irving in terms of his overall impact. And by the way, in terms of value of a replacement, he's just below Kyrie, but he's played like way fewer minutes. So he has been super important. If you trust the analytics on this, I'm telling you, the plus minus, the all of it is telling me that Derek Lively is irreplaceable for the Dallas Mavericks in terms of what they do. And I'll be very curious to see if that holds up tomorrow. All right. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I apologize for the clunky delivery. I was working through a lot of notes for the first time. Usually I speak very off the cuff, but I hope it was a little bit more informative. I probably have to dial down the volume of notes to something a little bit more condensed where I can go to like 2 points per quarter instead of reading out the play-by-play. First time I'm doing this in a really long time, but hope it was useful. And 2 hours gone talking about this game. Good luck in the NBA Finals, Boston Celtics. Peace.